Hi, my name is Christina Gonzalez, and I'm a third grade teacher in Los Angeles. This is my induction portfolio entitled Teaching and Exploring. And as you can see, in this top part of my homepage, you can see different drop-down menus that include different pieces of my portfolio, including my resume, induction assessments, CSTP evidence, technology competency, and leadership competency. And as you can see, each one has its own trove of information as well. On my homepage, you'll see that there's a small biography about me, and I teach third grade in a dual immersion classroom. So you'll see throughout my website that there's resources to support dual immersion teaching in the classroom, and often my lessons and my projects were centered around that. Next, here you'll see my resume, which contains all of my educational background, as well as previous leadership experiences, current leadership experiences, and current participation on important projects. Next, you'll see this drop-down menu that has induction assessments, and these three assessments, my CSTP, CTP final, my pop cycle, and my teacher inquiry, are all things that I'll be showing to you today. So the first thing that we are going to look for is we are going to look for my CSTP CTP final. So we're going to go to my induction assessment menu, click CTP final, and on this page you'll see 6 different documents, and each document is connected to a CSTP standard, and it has all of the sub-elements within that standard. It also contains 4 assessment levels, and these assessment levels chart my progress throughout these 2 semesters of this induction program, and they are color-coded by semester. So semester 1 is color-coded in yellow, semester 2 is color-coded in green, semester 3 is color-coded in blue, and this last semester, semester 4, is color-coded in pink. And these pink highlights show my current levels in these CSTP standards. And what's very interesting to see is that my overall growth in all 6 areas of the CSTP standards has improved. So from one element to the next, you can consistently see the colors moving up, which shows growth in my own teaching practice. And as I scroll down, you'll see all the different documents that show each CSTP. So moving on to my next induction assessment is my pop cycle. And in the pop cycle that I'm going to show you, I taught a lesson about a retell strategy. It's called the 5-finger retell. And as I mentioned before, I teach in a dual immersion classroom, so this lesson was taught in Spanish. And so I was teaching students to retell using this strategy in Spanish. And on this page, you'll see my lesson plans, my anchor charts, and the worksheet that the students used. And something that I really want to highlight in this pop cycle is the anchor charts that I used. I used 2 anchor charts in this lesson. The first one you'll see the last one you'll see at the bottom is what I introduced the lesson with. And it has the 4 elements of a story, as well as the sub-elements, and each of those sub-elements was its own lesson in the unit, but this was an overview of all 4 major elements in a story because I really wanted students to understand all 4 pieces. Now, they needed this information in order to access the strategy. The strategy that they learned was using the 5-finger retell, so they identified each finger of their hand to a different part of the story. And then they were able to use these sentence frames in orange to explain the part of the story step by step by thinking about the characters, the setting, the problem, and the resolution. And this strategy was very successful for my students because they were able to use their hands to retell the story back to me in each time they read the story. So this strategy was very, very successful. And the worksheet that's at the top here is what they used to retell their own story. This really helped them not only verbally retell their story, but also writing it down. And this written way of retelling the story is part of the standards that they need to be able to do. So it was very important to me that they were able to get that piece of the lesson as well. So the next thing that I would like to show you is my teacher inquiry. And my teacher inquiry was surrounding the idea of thinking routines. Thinking routines are routines that can be implemented into our lessons to encourage students to push their thinking past simple yes or no answers or one-word responses. And this idea of thinking routines was something that we learned in our professional development at my school, and it was something that I was curious about. And so I decided to turn it into my inquiry project. And as you can see here, we see my ILP document. And in this ILP document, the guiding question behind my project was all about how can a thinking routine improve student engagement and challenge students in the class during reading instruction. So I really wanted to challenge my students and promote engagement by implementing thinking routines on a daily basis in reading. And it really pushed my students as they were reading to not only read for fluency, but to read comprehending the text in a literal and inferential way. Moving back to my website, and if you want to access the file that I just showed you, it's right here at the bottom of the page. But moving on to the next thing that I wanted to show you guys was my technology competency page. On my technology competency page, you'll see all the different informational sources that I have and that I use in my classroom. In my classroom, I try to use as much technology as possible because I think it's important for students to learn in not only a written way, but in a technological way. So it's really important to incorporate that into lessons. And so one way that I do that is by using my technology choice board. And I created this choice board that you'll see in a moment for math instruction. And this choice board provided students with choices surrounding rounding and multiple addition. And this choice board had 9 options. And the directions that students had to do was they had to follow or choose 3 different activities, but these activities had to make a line, whether it was a horizontal line, a vertical line, or a diagonal line. And as you can see, these different activities had them working with the content in different ways. They could do it independently by writing it in their own student books. They could do a workplace with a partner, and these workplaces are individual games that we learned throughout the unit. They could also model or solve equations in different ways. And there were also independent technology options such as Khan Academy and Padlet math conversations. And these Padlet math conversations were really to promote sharing their strategy with one another, which is a very important standard, especially in 3rd grade. So I really tried to not only include content standards, but best math practice standards as well. So moving back to my website, the last thing that I wanted to show you all was my leadership competency page. And on my leadership competency page, we're going to scroll down to my teacher leader project. And on my teacher leader project page, you'll see a paragraph that explains my project. And my teacher leader project was all about fostering bilingual math vocabulary in the classroom. So our students in our school receive predominantly Spanish instruction in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade. In 3rd grade, they receive 50-50 instruction. So that means that they receive half the instruction in English and half the instruction in Spanish. And what we've noticed is when they move into upper grades and there's more and more English instruction and less Spanish instruction, students often struggle with math vocabulary. And we feel as a staff it's because there isn't enough transference bilingually from one year to the next. And so one way that I wanted to focus on that problem was to create a vocabulary list that teachers could use from kindergarten to 5th grade. And it would be a list that was transferable in both languages. So a list ultimately that had a lot of cognate words, a list that had words that were content driven, but also developmentally appropriate for students as well. So in my project, I wanted to show you my PowerPoint. And in my PowerPoint, you'll see that first my focus standards were CSTP 3.2 and 3.3, as well as NBPTS Proposition 1.2, and Teacher Leader Standards Domains 2 and 3. And my project was focused not only on student achievement, but on teacher collaboration, because I really wanted this list to be something that teachers collaboratively created together. And so the educational hook that I have for my project is how does a comprehensive and bilingual vocabulary improve student math achievement? So I really wanted to create just that, a list of words that were comprehensive and bilingual. And a center point to my project is the idea of linguistic transference. And with linguistic transference, because our students are bilingual and they're learning in Spanish at the beginning of their instruction at our school and slowly, gradually transitioning into English, it's important that we use words that are transferable, that they're able to make connections quickly. And it's also important that from one grade to the next, there is a consistency of words so that students can not only transfer linguistic understanding of a concept, but also core content that is connected to those vocabulary words. So with faculty at my school, I pulled together a group of teachers from kindergarten to 5th grade, and these teachers and I worked together on this project to create a list of vocabulary words that would support students in their math achievement. And so the reason that I wanted to support this project is because of what we know based on the funds of knowledge from Moll, Andrade, and Gonzalez, as well as the idea of constructivist learning, especially in the bilingual classroom. Those articles show that, according to research, it's important to start with what the students know, what's their prior knowledge, what's their prior vocabulary, and build on that. Instead of creating new vocabulary each year, it's important to transfer the knowledge, especially in bilingual learners when they're learning in both languages. Now, the next part of my slide are our instructional goals as a school. So as a school and a school organization, our goals were to engage students in robust math conversations, to have them explain their own mathematical strategies, and have them to be able to agree and disagree with each other. Now, for them to have these discussions, we need to give them the vocabulary words that they'll use to explain their thinking. And this is where that idea of linguistic transference, once again, is really important. So to be successful with this project, I collaborated with a group of teachers to create a list of vocabulary words that were standards aligned and focused on the curriculum. And once we created this list, I could see that we were going to be very successful implementing this list into the classroom. And so the final results were that students are able to have a list of bilingual words that they're going to start using during math instruction. There was also a large group of support for the project because it addressed a void that we had in our instructional plan, and it's something that teachers have been asking for a few years now. And it also fostered the importance of bilingualism in our classrooms. And so that's my overall presentation for my Teacher Leader project, and I'm excited to see the results and the next steps come into fruition in the next school year. Moving back to my website, so that was the last thing that I wanted to show you. So thank you so much for visiting the website, and if you have any questions about anything that I showed you today, please make sure to look through all of the information that's on this website, or reach out and contact me at the contact information provided at the end of the website. Thank you.